Welcome to the 6th ever episode of the DevOps Directive Office Hours, the show where we bring on guests and we work together to solve some DevOps or cloud infrastructure challenge. Today is a continuation of a series that we've been doing, and our guest is Donny Roufs, and we're working on a project of his called Nginx. In the first episode, we kind of took a look at the project, made a wish list of things that we wanted to improve about it, including Dockerizing it, and adding a couple other new features to the systems around the DevOps for this project. In the second episode, we started Dockerizing it. In the third, we made some more progress. Today, we've got a couple more to-dos, and we're marching down the road of getting this thing ready to migrate from its current droplet on DigitalOcean into a new one with a Dockerized configuration. Donny, welcome to the show.
Hey.
How's it going?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing well. And we are trying out a new streaming software. So hopefully the screen share will be more clear. It should be in 1080p this time. And let us know if you can see and hear us okay in the chat. I see Sam is here. Hello, Sam. Hope you're doing well. But yeah, let us know where you're from and whether you can see us and hear us as expected.
Yeah, I was actually surprised because I didn't see the screen change. I was like, huh? Why is he talking? But okay,
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know what it looks like on your end as the guest, so hopefully it's relatively smooth. But it looks like things are coming through as expected. Cool. I'm going to switch over to screen sharing mode. And now we should have my VS Code up. Awesome. And Sam is from South Africa. Let me move the comments up to the top. There we go. Welcome. Glad to have you here, Sam. Cool. And then I guess I'll also we should tell people, go subscribe to Donny's YouTube channel. I think he just cracked 100 subscribers not too long ago, so that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm almost at 170, I think.
Oh, wow. All right.
It's growing quick.
Cruising right along. Have you released any new videos recently, or still just the couple of that you had up?
Yeah, I did a third one like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
But the stuff that I'm like teaching people is getting really complex, so I'm like letting it go for like a few weeks so I can do some more research.
Cool.
One note though, the Ecamm live interview, I can't see your screen.
Oh, okay.
You.
I just linked to Donny's channel in the chat. Let's see if there's a way for him to see my screen. Yeah, I guess you could pull up the YouTube video, but then it would be very delayed. I think it's like a 10-second delay. Oh, man. That's a bummer if you can't see it at all. I guess this is...
It was actually weird because it asked me that like I can do something like swap camera and program feed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can share screen.
But
Apologies to those in the audience. We're having some technical difficulties trying to figure out how to let Donny view my screen share through this new streaming platform that we're using. If we have to, we could bail and jump over to StreamYard, but that would be a bummer.
I mean, at least I have a light and dark switch. That counts for something.
That is important. I guess let me, like, you just see my video, or what do you see on your end?
Just your camera.
Huh.
And mine.
Yeah.
But like beneath. That's interesting because, like, if you're sharing your screen, then I should see it, right? Am I not?
certainly seems that way.
I don't know, hidden buttons somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, Madhan. I watched some of DockerCon yesterday. I watched a session on security and a couple others. I thought there were some really good presentations. I'm planning to go read some summaries and then maybe tune into some replays of some of the sessions that looked more interesting. Did you end up watching it at all, Madhan?
I like how there's a no script tag for a HTML center tag saying, really sorry, but this process not supported. Lazy developers. Yeah, there's no button for me to change the camera.
Oh, hold on. I just switched guest view to
okay.
broadcast. Can you now see the... Okay, now you can see the screen?
Yeah, it's a little bit laggy or delayed, I think.
Okay. Yeah, there was this setting on my end where it controls what you see. So hopefully that will give us what we want and let us proceed without having to bail.
Yeah, it does force me to zoom in though, because there's no full screen mode apparently, which is fine, because like zooming in is fine for me.
Okay, well that rough start, but now we looks like we're back in business. And hello to Dan.
I guess it's time to do some open source stuff for them, I guess.
Yeah. So I was, just before we hopped on, I was reminding myself where we were from last time. And if I recall correctly, we had gotten this Docker Compose set up. So we had our Postgres database. We were mounting in this local path and mapping that to where Postgres is storing the data. Actually, since it's 1080, hopefully this will be enough zoom. And so all our database data is getting stored here, which is good because we can deal with it outside the container if we want to. We have our API server running on 5000. And initially we had bundled up the API server alongside the database seeding and migration process. So we had this bootstrap.sh, and I think it was doing the Prisma generation and seeding, but then it was also doing a yarn nodemon start type thing. And so what I did just before stream is actually separate that out so that we have the API server as its own thing, and then the database seeding and migration as a separate component within the compose. And so that means that every time we start the API server, we don't necessarily need to run those migrations. So I added this Bootstrap DB, and it actually uses the same Docker image. So it's still the API server image, but instead of executing the API start command, it just runs that Bootstrap script.
Right.
And then for the server, it's going to use the default, since I don't have a command specified, it's going to use the default command within here, and that is this PM2 runtime that we added last time. So that all looks good. And so if I now run this, and then I have this make file just to avoid typing these commands over and over. So if I run make, this is actually going to be the default local. I'll probably get rid of my just Docker Compose file, because now I think this will be the standard development one. So I'll do make run local. And it should start our database, start our client. It'll actually execute this bootstrap DB, and then this will complete, and we should get it, exit code 0, so that means it's successfully terminated. This unique constraint, we've seen this before, right? This is just, we're trying to create a constraint that already exists, and it's okay.
Yeah, so my seed file is calling user.create instead of user.upset because I was too lazy to fill in the update field. So now it tries to create it, and then it's like, it already exists, so I'm going to throw. But it doesn't matter.
Okay. Cool. And so then, for example, if we wanted to just rerun the database migration portion, is it okay to always run this even if the database has already been seeded? Is there any danger in rerunning this? Like, do we want to have a separate seeding step versus migration step, I guess is my question.
Well, we only need this for development, so for production it's not needed.
True. And so I guess as long as we...
Yeah, so my point was it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
It doesn't break anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like I should change these seeders to be upset instead of create, just to prevent the errors that we've seen before, like the user.create one. But otherwise it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And so then this effectively becomes the local Docker compose. This one I don't think we actually need anymore. I'm just going to delete it. This will be dev. Let me update this. And we don't need... Well, we will need a way to run migrations optionally in production, right? Like if we have a new migration, we'll want to be able to run that. And so maybe we'll just have a separate... migrate up, and that really all we want it to do. Do you know what the experimental flag does?
Yeah, so this is using a older version of Prisma. So back then the migration was experimental. And in order to upgrade, you need to do a lot of hacky stuff, or not hacky stuff. They changed the entire migration system. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay at this older version for this application. So the flag is required.
Cool.
You also need to generate one though when migrating.
After you migrate, you always need to generate. What does that generation step do again? I think you told me one time, but...
Yeah, so for pure JavaScript, I'm not 100% sure, but it generates types for Prisma to understand what it should be querying. And I'm pretty sure that without it, it shouldn't work, even when in production. But I'm not 100% confident though.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then those things should be able to... if we mount them correctly into volumes, then that generation should be able to persist across the two. Like we may need to add a shared volume between these two, I guess, in order to make that work. Does that make sense? Like if we generate the if we use Prisma generate in this Bootstrap DB service, then the resulting types will need to make their way into the API server container. And I don't think that will happen currently. Like I guess I could delete all my volumes and test, right? Because we have those types were generated because we had everything running in this API server before. Let's see.
So what you're saying is you need to add an extra step where you move the files? Or
what I'm thinking is that if both the APIs and the step where we're actually running that generate if both of those happen and are attached to the same volume, then the resulting files that get produced can be shared across the two. So that could be an option. I guess the other, like it makes more sense for this to be attached to the migration step, right? Like you only change this when you change the schema, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when you do the migration, when you change the schema, nothing happens.
Yeah, okay. But the migration is the application of that change schema.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we might need to
Do you
I
have
think we'll need
Discord
to do that,
sound
but I'm
on?
not sure. What's that?
Do you have your Discord sound on, by any chance?
Oh, did you get Discord noise coming through?
Yeah, I thought it was me. I was so confused.
Oh, I think by default it like shares out audio from maybe my system, and yeah, so okay.
Interesting. And I just thought I had friends. Damn.
Yeah, I heard it come through in my headphones, but I wasn't sure if it would get shared out. But cool. So if I delete Docker list, Docker volume ls. Just gonna delete both of these and see if we break anything. I think on one of the streams we tricked ourselves because we had already seeded and migrated the database, and it was stored in a volume, and then we changed some stuff and it was working, and then we thought we broke it later, but it was actually, it had been broken for a while. So okay, so now if I do this, make run local.
Leakdex is a great name, though. I'm so bad at names. It's insane.
Madhan has a question about anonymous volumes and whether they're safe to use in terms of identifying it. I'm not sure if you're asking if it's safe from a security perspective or safe from a like accidentally deleting your data perspective. I think you're asking the latter. I mean, it can be a little tricky, right? Because it doesn't have a name and it just gets this random ID assigned to it. So yeah, I mean, depends how you interact with it. I'm not actually sure though on sort of best practices there. Sam noticed the Discord sound as well. I closed my Discord, so hopefully we'll stop getting those pings. And hello to Part-Time Larry, who also has a great YouTube channel. I think mostly related to Python and where it intersects with finance, and so he does some like algorithmic trading and stuff. So people should check him out. Cool. So we seeded our database. Let's open up a browser and check that things are working properly. Oh, I think I actually did one thing as well off screen that I need to revert real quick. So eventually we're going to add this this Nginx based container as our production image, but I'm going to get rid of that for now because we're still in development mode. And we're going to kill that. We're going to do... So I think what happened there is I actually built this Nginx-based image, whereas the Docker Compose is set up for the node-based development server.
Right.
And I want... And if folks who are watching want to hit the thumbs up button, that's awesome, and will help to tell YouTube to bring more people to join us. Okay, so that looks like completed successfully. So now let me try this again. Da-da-da. Still booting. Starting development server. Hey, got a couple thumbs up coming in. Thanks, guys and gals. It's trying. It's trying.
Always takes a while on the first load, I think.
Hey. And then what's our test? We always just log in with a test. ASD,
It was
ASD.
admin.
Oh, admin. Cool. And then we can check that our champion API is working. Great. Okay, so it looks like we're back up and running, and things are working as expected.
It's actually funny because this application is using JWT with cookies. And I was always under the impression that with single page applications, you needed to implement CSRF. But apparently you don't have to. Like the secure flag on cookies and the same site home are enough to handle it all. So that's a good thing to know.
Nice, nice. That needs another P. Okay, so it seems like that may have not been necessary. We may find out later when something breaks, but for now, let's move on to this. So we have our development configuration working. Now we want to add the basically the production version of our client, where we're going to build our front end into a set of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. We're going to copy that into a Nginx-based Docker image and then serve it. So I will add this. Most things are going to be the same, but we are going to need to add an Nginx configuration, and we're going to need to add change some ports and stuff in our settings here. So we'll kill that. So I guess to start, why don't we just get it working with just the front end stuff? If we do client docker build ht dex dot and Athik asks if backend developers need to learn databases. I think you at least need to know how to interact with databases, to write queries in the native query language of that database, and or using a ORM, object relational mapping system. In this case, Donny has gone with Prisma. Almost any of your APIs that you're writing as a backend developer are going to interact with a database of some kind. So I think it is necessary to at least learn the basics of whatever database technology you're going to be working with.
Yeah, and then you decide to use an ORM because you can't be bothered to learn SQL, and then you still end up writing raw SQL in your ORM because you don't understand how to interact with the database.
Yeah, SQL. I didn't learn SQL until a couple years ago, and it was super valuable to be able to know how to just explore the database and answer business questions based on data that
Mm-hmm.
we had in our company database, like how much each customer is costing us and how often do they interact with the application. And so like being able to very quickly answer those types of questions was super valuable in helping the team to know what to build next, what to focus on, where to focus our efforts, etc.
Yeah,
Okay, so
definitely.
that,
I,
go
I
ahead.
think I learned the like I did some SQL stuff, and then I learned like the first three normal forms, even though I'm not really comfortable at a larger scale. But every time when I need to design a database, it's it's tough, man. Like the design, like I can do it, and eventually it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, this design is properly done. But then writing the proper queries, for sure when you go many-to-many relations.
Yeah, and then you got to have that join table in between.
Yeah, so that's why I like ORMs.
Cool. So while we were chatting there, the build finished, and then I executed a Docker run command, port forwarding my local 8080 to 80 in that container, and that was successful. So now this version of the client is actually running in that Nginx based container. So that is good. Now we'll need to set it up so that we can connect to our API server and such from there. So let's add
Which
that
would mean
into our, go ahead.
yeah, so that would be reverse proxying, right, at this point?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll need to set up that Nginx config to
Mm-hmm.
properly connect. And so some of that will require an Nginx config, and I know you had sent me the one that you had on your server. And then we'll also probably need to update some of this stuff as well.
Yeah, that config is all copy-paste from Google. I was so confused in the beginning.
So yeah, let me pull that up. We may get some more Discord noises while I do it, because I think you sent it on Discord, right?
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So far, Donnie also just upgraded his PC, so far it's doing well, even though he's on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. Like the thing that surprised me the most is that I switched from Intel to AMD, and I didn't reinstall my operating system, and everything just works. I'm really
Nice.
confused.
Like you just literally swapped the hard drive, or swapped the motherboard and CPU and left the hard drive, and things were fine.
Yeah, yeah. I just uninstalled the old rifles just to be sure, and installed the new chipset, and everything just works. So, do you always leave the configuration files for Docker and everything else that you use just outside your tiers, so like outside server and client, or do you actually put them into their own directory at the very end?
So like this Docker file for the server will live in the server
Mm-hmm.
directory. You mean these like Docker Compose files?
Yeah, Docker Compose and Nginx Config, all that stuff.
So this one I just put it there because it's probably going to end up going in the client. I just didn't
Right.
create the file in the proper place. Um,
Okay, so you just move them to where it actually belongs.
yeah, exactly. I just needed a file, and that's where VS Code decided to put it.
I see.
The compose files make more sense to me at the top level because they're using code from many of these subdirectories. So that's why I put
Mm-hmm.
them here at the top. But yeah, like the Docker file for the server or for the client, I'm putting down in the respective directories.
I've seen repositories where people created a config file where they would put everything in instead of doing it the way we are doing it right now. So that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, you certainly could. You could put it in its own sort of configuration place. To me, it makes more sense to have it co-located with the code that it is using, and that makes like when we want to do things like copy in relevant files, it is easier to think about what path I'm talking about if I'm in the right directory to begin with. Like if I'm way over here somewhere, then I need to either like when I execute Docker build, I need to pass it a different configuration, or like I need to tell it where my build context is, or I need to have a bunch of gnarly paths within here to reference those files.
Yeah, like my GitHub actions, where I go like 5 directories back.
Yeah, exactly. And Part-Time Larry's asking is if everything is running locally right now or part of it is on DigitalOcean already. So everything that we have shown on this stream is running locally on my MacBook inside of Docker. Donny does have a version of this application running at leaguedex.com on DigitalOcean. None of that is using Docker. That's all just running directly itself. And so we're Dockerizing it. That will allow us to decouple a lot of that initial configuration work that Donny had to do on that initial droplet, and instead we'll be able to spin up a droplet that has Docker and Docker Compose installed, run our one command, and everything will just come up automatically. And so that should make it a little more resilient in case something goes wrong. We can spin up a new copy pretty quickly. And I think he answered his own question. Yeah, exactly. So he has a version, and we're working to add some more of these approaches to it.
Well, technically I have 2 versions, but yeah.
Yeah. Cool. The other thing that I'm not sure about on Docker Compose is how to, like if I'm here, I can tell, not here, wrong directory. Like I can tell Docker which of these stages I want to build. So like if I do target base, it will just build this and stop here. If I do target builder, it'll build this one. If I do target production, it'll build this one. I'm not sure how to tie that into the Docker file or Docker Compose file, because ideally we would reference one of those specifically. What I might do is take away this build directive and just use a tag so that I can say like leaguedex client dev or leaguedex client production. And that will allow us to, yeah, that makes more sense to me. So I'll do this. Build dev will be cd client and then make build dev. Build guy.
I actually started using makefiles. Probably using them for the wrong reasons, but I'm using them.
Yeah, I mean they're super convenient for many things. Do I have a makefile here? No.
Yeah, like I got a mono repo set up with just with Yarn workspaces, and I'm using makefiles to spin it all up, which seems to do what I want to do. So.
-t leaguedex API. For now, we only have one version of our API server, so I don't need a special tag for that one. And putting it here just means it will run it before it executes this, so it's like a dependency. So for
that's interesting.
Make build dev, then we want.
So is there a difference between doing and or the backslash?
So and will wait for the first one to finish and require that it finishes successfully. The backslash will, depending on how you have your shell set up, I guess it will either terminate, like if the first one fails, I think the behavior is different, right?
Mhm.
Like if you have your shell set up to exit immediately on any failed command, then it will, or no, the backslash will make it so that they're essentially one command. This is two separate commands being executed, right?
Right, I see.
Like I could still do this and put it on a new line, but the
Mhm.
and is, like ties the two together and it will exit if the first one does not complete, and it won't execute the second one until the first one finishes. Versus if I do one and, then it will execute immediately after the first one.
Interesting. Oh, that's good to know.
Then we want build production, build API, make build production. Oh, we got a dog.
Yeah, she's whining again. Like I always exercise her like an hour, like, well, maybe 2 hours even during the day. But every time around this time, she's like, "Oh, I want to go outside," even though she doesn't have to go outside.
Nice. Cool. So now we've got our build API is going to do that. Build dev is going to build our API and then build this base image. And we do want to tag it with league dex. That's spelled wrong.
There's a typo. Yeah.
League dex client. We'll call it dev. And then this one we'll call and so now when we do this, so now we'll get rid of these and we'll just build before we, like rather than using the built-in Docker Compose build stuff.
Oh.
So in dev, we want dev. API is fine, API is fine. In production, we want production. So if I do build dev, it first does the API server one, right? Because it was specified as that dependency, so it's going to do this first. Once it finishes that, it will do this. And then if I do make run dev, it should run the node-based development server for our client, and we should be able to access it on port 3000. Once it gets booted.
Yeah, there should be an extension for Chrome that plays music for you when you're waiting for it to load.
Yeah,
There probably is one.
I should get some stream beats going, some royalty-free lo-fi music.
Yeah, I could get you some guitar based.
Okay, looks like it came up properly. Just make sure. Okay, great. So now I'll kill that. And if we do, let's see, what do we have here? The Nginx client now is going to be serving on port 80. So we'll do that. I don't think we need this anymore. This is a hack that has to do with how the Node.js development server that Create React app uses, like it terminates by default. And so the Nginx server should remain open. Let's get rid of this volume for now, since those files are all built into the image. Cool. So I expect us to successfully load the client, but not be able to make any API requests because we haven't actually added our Nginx configuration to the correct place.
I'm also thinking there might be course issues. I'm not 100%.
Yeah, there could be. There could be.
Can't remember how I set it up, so you know. So does remove orphans remove the entire the current Docker compose?
Remove orphans is if you have a stopped container that is no longer referenced. I think it's like if it's no longer referenced in your compose file, it will clean that up so you don't just have it floating around. It was whining about it earlier, so I added it. I think when
I remember. Yeah, I remember the warning, but I just realized I never asked.
Yeah, so if you create a Docker Compose that has some service, you run it, it will create all those containers. Then you stop it. Those containers still exist, but they're just stopped. The next time you run it, it will whine at you if you have removed that service from the compose. And if you add remove orphans, it will clean it up in the background. Okay, why is it building? Did I do... Oh, I didn't remove this. That's okay. Oh, did I just do make run? Oh, I did the wrong command. That's why. Make run production. Da-da-da. API server's up. The Nginx based front end is up, but if we log in,
yeah, that shouldn't work.
Wrong username password. Cool.
I like my errors.
Yeah, the different error than I would have expected, but
yeah,
it did. Yeah, it's saying no such file or directory. Yeah, so because we haven't configured because we haven't configured what that route should do in Nginx, it tries to look it up as if it was a file, I think, and it says that file doesn't exist. So this is where the Nginx configuration comes into play, and this is where my understanding of Nginx is not super good. So we're gonna work through it together.
Yeah, I was also looking at Caddy, and Caddy seems so much easier compared to Nginx.
Caddy is nice. It does set up a lot of things. I think it's easier to configure, and it handles the HTTPS out of the box, which is super nice.
Yeah, you can. I think you can kind of compare it to like Parcel and Webpack, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
yeah.
I haven't used Caddy yet, but that's what it looks to me. Like I had to type all this Nginx crap myself. Like I couldn't copy it, so there might be typos. Um,
Oh, you copied, like you couldn't copy it out of the server.
yeah, so I had to type it all over.
Man, dedication. Um, and so we'll probably have to update this to now use the name of the service within the Docker Compose. But where is Nginx looking for that configuration?
Yeah, there was also um, my SSL certificate, but that was also inside the Nginx config.
Yeah. So, but for localhost, we should be able to just do it with no SSL, right?
Yeah.
So here we're gonna add this volume mount. So am I even? Yeah, I'm in the right thing. So this is gonna go from. This is the local path, and my local path. Do I want it here, or do I want it in its own? I'll just leave it there.
I mean, for me, it's fine. I like
So
having stuff where it should be. So
yeah, so we're referencing that file, and then this is where the container is expecting to look for it, and then this says read only. So we don't want the
right.
server to be able to modify that file. So that looks good. Let's see, we had Part-Time Larry says he missed the earlier episodes. Yeah, no worries. This is it's a multi-part series. We're having fun and learning some things along the way, but we're making good progress. I think we're getting closer and closer to moving the production system over to this new setup. Pushkar says hi-oh, hello, nice to have you. And Part-Time Larry's asking, what was the server just mentioned? Not sure specifically what you're asking about. I think you might have been asking about this API server. And so we have the application split, right? We have our client, which is a React app that will be served using Nginx. And then we have our backend server, which is a Node.js Express API that is using Node.js to serve. So hopefully that answers the question. But let me kill this. And then let's rerun with this configuration mounted in and see what happens. I suspect we're going to have to do some debugging, but previously did this configuration work when running locally? Or did you ever run Nginx locally with your app?
No.
Okay.
No. Like I went on my droplet, I went to Google, and it's like, okay, I need to do some kind of Rebus proxy. And I copy pasted like 2,000 headers till I found ones that work. And then I was like, okay, whatever.
Oh,
like
he was asking the
really
alternative.
Confusing.
The alternative to Nginx is called Caddy. There's plenty of web server alternatives. I mean, you could use Apache, but the one that we were talking about is called Caddy Server. I'll link to it here. Cool.
Caddy is a great name, though.
Yeah.
I like it.
The thing that we thought we were going to have to change here is when you're in Docker, you reference a different service by its host name. So rather than localhost, I think we actually need that. And that. Oh, is this because you have staging on 5001 and production on 5000? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine.
I was so happy when I got staging to work. Oh. It's really nice to have some kind of environment to.
Yeah, I mean it's really critical. I think that'll be something really nice about this setup is that you'll have a version that you can run locally that is almost identical to what you're running in production. Whereas right now, you have just the development version that is not actually using Nginx locally. So like any configuration changes to Nginx, you have to do on the droplet and are somewhat dangerous, I would say. This is one thing that'll be a little wonky here is like this Nginx config is shared across staging and production. So we might have to do some things, or we'll have to think about like when we want to deploy those changes, you know, like, because normally you would have staging and production completely separate and we would have one Nginx config for staging, one Nginx config for production. I actually thought about whether it would make sense to have these on separate droplets, but I think for now, let's leave them together. I think the other thing is that now that we're not going to be running the GitHub Actions on the droplet itself, like the load on these servers is going to be very low. And so we probably could even get away with a $10 a month droplet instead of the $20 one. What did it not like? Are you trying to mount a directory onto a file? Oh, did I specify something wrong here? Nginx conf onto Nginx conf. Those are both files, right? Oh, sorry. This is client / Nginx conf. Okay, no crash and burn error from the get-go. That's good.
Yeah, that's
good. However, we do not have What errors do we have for the client? Could not build some optimal stuff. We don't really care if it's optimal.
Okay, go to line 24 of the Nginx config. I was complaining about the HTTP directive. Oh, you can only have one, I think.
Oh, I see. Because we have it duplicated here, it didn't like that. Let's just get rid of this bottom one for now.
Yeah. I think you can just... I don't even remember. Let me go into
what the comment syntax is in Nginx.
Yeah. Oh, that one.
And I'm going to make this 5,000 because that's where our API is running. And our actual HTML here is not at production league decks. We could put it there, but it is at this directory, right? Like you're copying it to a specific path.
Yeah.
So I think we actually want...
That's actually something, like sometimes when I record my videos, when I'm trying to record at least, it's really hard to actually do it because my dog tends to bark. So I was thinking maybe I should make like a dog counter or something that would like automatically update when it hears my dog bark, because it's really annoying to having to redo that part.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Make it a meme on your channel.
Yeah, exactly. That way my dog also gets famous. Uh,
Host not found in upstream API.
yeah, so I'm quickly looking at the original config, and you can just remove the second HTTP and then just nest the other one in there. That should work.
Yeah, we also don't have a staging version anyway, so... Oh, did I not get rid of...
Yeah.
I thought I got rid of it. What happened? Where'd it go?
Oh, you have a copy version, right?
I have a
Or did I
copy.
just
Oh, was I
notice that
editing the
because I was...
copy? Oh, that's annoying. I was just making it as a backup because I was gonna... We'll put this back to how it was. We'll close it so we don't fool ourselves again. And then this one... This is where we needed that. Then get rid of that. And then kill it. This is where if we just wait long enough, someone in the audience will tell us the answer. I think that's the key. If we just sit here in
Most likely.
silence, if we just sit here awkwardly in silence, they'll save us. I've got faith in them. Still exiting. Host not found in upstream. Let's see what that means.
So that's Docker related though, right?
What is this error?
The error? Yeah. I mean, it's coming from Nginx, but it is Docker related, I guess.
It could be Docker related in that like the
That it
host
doesn't,
name
yeah.
could be wrong, but I think that's an Nginx based error.
I remember something where you had this line when you Dockerize it, but I'm not confident if that's it.
Include a resolver direction. What does that do?
Yeah, so I'm looking at a very old config that I created once. And at the very top of my Nginx, which is not related to leaktext, I created something called upstream, and then in this case it would be API, and then a open and close bracket, and inside there you would set the
Like as a
actually,
sibling to server
yeah,
or
I think
inside of
so.
server?
Like no, it's on the very top, like it's all in the top, even above HTTP.
Oh, not outside of the HTTP directive.
Yeah. So I can't remember what it does exactly, but for me it says upstream backend, and then the brackets, and inside there it's server, and then app port 3000.
Interesting.
I knew I remember this from somewhere, but now I can't remember what it actually does.
So then this would be the API 5000. I don't know what the weights are.
think so, yeah.
Define groups of servers that can be referenced by proxy pass, blah, 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 blah. And this will just call upstream dynamic, HTTP dynamic. So then does it just want us to do this?
It looks like I also added a proxy pass inside location. Oh yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, I think we referenced this, whatever name we put here,
Yeah.
is here. And so whether like the port and this, whether this belongs in the upstream or down here, I'm not actually sure, but we'll see here in a second what happens. Sam's pointing out the Prisma client complaining about the primary key. Yeah, we know that warning comes out when we run the database migration, but that I don't think that's actually our issue here.
No, it shouldn't, I think.
Exited with code 1. Let me clear this just so it's easier to see. Upstream directive is not allowed here. Not allowed? Where is it allowed?
That's interesting. The config that I'm looking at from an
Oh, it looks like it might belong inside of the HTTP.
Interesting. And yeah, it isn't. That is weird.
It's funny when working with Nginx configs and like database stuff, usually you get it set up and then you don't touch it for a really long time. So every time it's like a lot of work and research to get things back.
That's the pain that I always experience when starting a new project. I understand databases, but like, when do you design a database? Once every year, half year? So every time it's like, okay, so how the hell does this work again?
I think I just forgot a semicolon there. Oh, always the problem. It was saying this bracket was unexpected, but I think it's because I didn't have a semicolon here.
Yeah.
Upstream directive not allowed here. It's not allowed anywhere. Oh. Why? It's saying it's on line 1, but it's definitely not on line 1. Is it because we have it read-only? It's like not getting the updated version? We'll put that back in a minute.
Sounds so aggressive though, killing you text to people.
Okay, now we're getting a different error at least. Invalid host API 5000 API. That is this is invalid. So maybe it just should be called that. And then we go.
Yeah, so in my example, it's literally app and then method 3000.
In the upstream config or in the down here?
Yeah, so I'll just send you what I'm looking at.
Host not found upstream. Where'd you send it? On Discord?
Yeah. It's really old though. 2020. Early 2020.
Okay, so let's do that. It's running on 5000. And then when you reference it later as backend. Okay. Must be a good
Which is in
comment.
the way of.
No, thanks for pointing that out.
True.
Host not found upstream API 5000. Oh. Looks like Donny dropped and is rejoining. Guest is in green room. Let me add him here. There we go.
I'm
Welcome
back. I just told me, thank you for joining. Goodbye.
That's weird.
That's weird. Yeah, it wasn't related to my network because I'm monitoring it. So that's interesting.
I wonder what happened. We have 33 minutes remaining of interview trial time, so we got to figure this out in the next 33 minutes. So it's still saying, upstream API, host not found in upstream API. Let's figure out what this actually means. Da-da-da.
Does Nginx have a dependency on the API? I can't remember if he said it.
It doesn't, but it shouldn't.
Because I think you need it,
Does it
right?
need to be up?
Otherwise, it doesn't know. I think so, yeah.
Okay. Like it needs to be up, or
could be
else
wrong,
Nginx
but-
will say, I can't find it, and start whining. Might be the case. We can add it. That would mean this depends on API as well.
I mean, I'm trusting Stack Overflow, so.
Oh,
Oh, well, it's actually DigitalOcean, but
client depends on API. Oh, I'm also now hiding it with our faces, but there we go. New errors though. No
Yeah,
events.
that's the beginning.
Yeah. It's always a good sign when you get a different error.
Well, I think you need a empty events block when using upstream. At least looking at the old config of mine, I got an empty block in the. No idea why though. Trial and error.
So that's outside of. Yeah, what does events actually do? Provides the configuration.
And I thought it has to go inside HTTP.
It does have to go.
I'm not sure, but
It
assuming.
looked like it was a sibling, but we'll see here. We'll see if it whines.
Well, that looked fine, I think, didn't it?
I did not see an exit one. And we have localhost connectivity. Wrong username password. Okay.
So what is the error that we're getting? You need a trailing slash is missing. I think
right here.
So you need to. I actually think on the upstream one, maybe. No, yeah, there. That should be fine on the proxy pass.
Yeah, I think.
The reason we have API twice.
So this API is referencing the upstream server. This API is your endpoint.
Oh right, yeah. Oh, that's so confusing.
Maybe
what
I
are
should
your
name.
thoughts on?
I can name this server, and then.
So what are your thoughts on having a subdomain for your API compared to reverse proxying it on the same
I think
domain?
I have seen people use a route versus a subdomain much more frequently. I think it makes more sense to me to have it as a route, like you have it. It seems clunky to deal with subdomain. Yeah, it just seems to make more sense. Oh, it looks like we got logged in, so that could be a good sign. Hey,
there we go.
Is nice.
What proper Googling does for you. I tried.
And if I go here, I can reverse proxy directly to that API, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's cool.
Nice. Go team. I need like a soundboard so I can do a celebratory noise. I gotta up my streaming setup, get that stream deck.
Yeah, I mean you could also set up OBS and then like create a React application that like looks at your hand signals, and then when you do something like this, it would play a sound.
That's true. Okay, that's good. We're working. We've got our local production version that's running our. Oh, and we also want to move this back to. Get rid of that. rid of that. Oh, I was just going to add this back as read-only now. Get rid of that. Okay, that's good. We can check the box.
I mean, you could actually turn it into a proper checklist since it's Markdown.
I could.
But that
then I
also
have to
works.
go into preview mode.
Yeah. It's actually funny because in VS Code, I cannot use emojis directly. So if I try to insert an emoji in my file, it doesn't work. But if I copy it in, it does work. So weird.
Huh. Let's. So I guess this is a point where we have a decision to make. If we're going to keep both staging and production on one server, we could just and share a database or share a database instance with separate databases. We could just have one sort of massive Docker Compose that has a staging version of our client, a staging version of our API server, a production version of our API server, an Nginx instance that points to both, like you have set up with the staging and production directives, and a single database instance. Or we could have separate staging and production Docker Composes. We could separate onto 2 droplets, and basically then we probably could get away with the cheaper droplets. The latter seems cleaner. The former is more similar to what we have.
Yeah, and I guess it's also safer in a way. Like if one droplet gets hacked in some kind of way, then the other one is still fine.
Yeah, safer in a couple ways. Like the hacking piece is one, but I think more likely is making a mistake when doing something on staging that then brings down production if they're not isolated.
Trust me, like in the current environment, sometimes I need to get into the server to fix something. Like sometimes a mail doesn't get sent or something. And I'm so scared of going into the wrong database and just ruining it all. So
Yeah. So maybe we keep them separate and then drop it to use like the $10 a month database for the production, or the $10 a month droplet for the production. We could probably even get away with like a $5 a month for the staging, and just have them on separate droplets. And now because there's very little setup of the droplet itself, that's less of a hassle, right? Like before, if you wanted to separate them, you would have had to go in and recreate this whole environment. But now it'll literally just be Docker Compose up.
yeah, I think the latter is fine.
Okay.
Also, mainly because I'm also getting a bigger droplet for myself for like dummy projects. So the staging environment could actually go on the.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true as well.
Because sometimes relying on services like Versal and Heroku doesn't work. So I need like my own playground of a droplet.
Yeah. Okay. So then effectively this production config can be identical, and we'll probably just we'll dynamically pass this tag, or like we'll set this equal to some commit hash in the GitHub action for staging, or it'll be equal to like a release tag for the production version. So that is good. This we'll need to clean up for production, obviously. We'll need to set those environment variables directly.
So you would do that in the GitHub secrets, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll store those as GitHub secrets, and then when we execute this, we'll pass like some environment flag.
I see.
Or we could populate a file in the GitHub action workflow and then pass that file in might be an easy way to do it as well. Okay. Well, that's actually going to be about the same. Trying to think what we have 20 more minutes before our trial of this interview software expires. So I'm trying to think what is the most useful use of our time. We could work on this, basically creating a little script to dump the contents of our database and then restore them into a new copy. And we can just test it with, I don't know, we can add a summoner account and then check that it makes it into the new version. We could also, I could also just spin up a droplet in my DigitalOcean account and try getting this system running there. Or we could start on GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions probably will take a little longer.
Yeah. And considering there might be some bugs, 20 minutes is probably not enough.
Yeah, exactly. Unless we did it perfect the first try. Yeah, so let's think about how we want to dump and restore the DB. And when you check the actual size of the data on the database running in DigitalOcean is quite small, right? It's only like less than 20 megabytes or something.
It's actually funny because a lot of people just use it to see how many different matchups they've played. Like they don't even use the node system. Like they just like the stats, and that's all fine too. So
yeah. Whoop, that's not supposed to be there. Okay, so I guess the plan when we eventually do this will be put site into maintenance mode. Essentially take down the site temporarily so people aren't creating new data. Dump a copy of DB. So there's PG dump is a utility that they provide. Copy resulting and then restore from 5.
There's actually a slight chance that I have to go in like 7 minutes.
Yeah, no worries.
I think.
No worries.
Because it's the time for me to get some food and everything.
Yeah, not a problem. We'll plan to wrap up in 5 minutes, let's say.
Like more in the sense of how to do it properly. Imagine doing, like, I've never used PG dump, and for me it's really scary in the way of, imagine if I do PG dump and I lose all my data.
That's why
it's not going to happen, of course, but
we test it on a non-production version. Dump only data. Not found. So ideally, so let's see what this command is actually telling us to do. So they're executing this. So my container name in this case is exec. Is it just Postgres 11? Oh, no, it's LeagueDex DB1. We have a password. And that password
Which is
is
Postgres, right?
Postgres LeagueDex.
Yeah.
Postgres.
I like simple passwords.
Postgres LeagueDex. And then we're just going to write that to a path here. And let's see what happens. Make dump DB. Da-da-da. We got a SQL database here. Hey, that was easier than expected. So let's how do we now test this? We create some summoner account in
You could even go to the collections page, I think.
Well, first we need to do that, and then we'll dump again, right? And then we'll restore. So we'll delete that. So we're here. We are logged in. Admin. Oop. Summoner name. Test. Does it have to match anything? Does it matter?
You know, I can't remember. I think it has to be. Yeah. So something happened.
Okay.
I think it gets mad because it's missing the API key for write. So it doesn't restart because it broke. But you don't have to add a summoner account if you just go to view collection.
View
in the
collection.
middle.
Yep.
Yeah, and then just click on one of them.
Okay.
Like one of the cards.
And then we can add a note,
the
right?
table. Yeah, you could go there, or you could also add a note. Like those things should work. So if you click on any, like below the, like there's a table. Yeah. So anyhow you could add notes. This should work. So if it crashes now, then something is broken.
No, that works.
Cool.
Cool. Then we want to dump it again. And then we want to restore. And I know you got to go in 2 minutes, so let's see what happens.
Yeah,
here.
no worries. It's actually funny because during my study, when I first got there, they made us write, they made us copy an SQL dump, like from beginning to end, and it was like 1,000 lines, and you had to do it. I don't understand why, but I was so pissed because it didn't teach me anything.
So I think if I delete this directory where our data was stored, then I spin this up again. Oh shoot, I forgot to dump first. Anyways, I know you've got to go. Why don't we call it for here? I think we are in good shape to do something similar to this on the production data, but we'll test that out either between now and the next stream or on the next stream.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're getting close.
Yeah, it's getting somewhere finally. It's fun though. It's definitely a good learning process too.
Yeah, I think most of today we spent fighting with the Nginx config, but now we got it working.
There's a big chance I'm even going to do this all over again for my other applications I'm writing because it's a similar stack. But instead of copying, I would just do it all from scratch again. Which is
Yeah, I
a
mean
good practice for me.
once we have the config working, it should be easier, as long as there's not too many changes. Cool. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks everyone in the audience for coming on and hanging with us and helping us out when we got stuck. And until next time, take care.
Cheers.